Hey everyone. I just wanted to take a quick break from making AP review videos and just do something that takes a little less brain power, but something that AP teachers, including myself, we think about every year, and that is what is going to be this year's DBQ prompt. And this year, this takes a special importance because the entire test is just a DBQ. So let's kind of go through some things about the DBQ and let's see if we can try to narrow down what that prompt might be. Well, first off, we know it's not going to be from either periods 1 and 2 or 8 and 9. So that means we can cut out the years 1491 to 1754, and we can cut out 1945 to the present. So that helps us out a little bit, although we still have a massive time period to cover. Basically, everything from the French and Indian War all the way through the end of World War II. Next, there are some other variables to think about. First off is, they're knocking it down from 7 documents to 5. So, that might play a part as far as like how many different points of view can they cover on the DBQ? How creative can they get with the documents? Sometimes on a DBQ, you see documents that are really well known, but a lot of times, a lot of the documents are ones that, we've never assigned in AP classes and they're kind of obscure. So with that said, only 5 this year. Next is the College Board has said the prompt will be similar in time frame. There was some discussion amongst teachers that maybe the prompt will cover like 100+ years because this is the only question on the test. This is the only part of the test that everyone's taking. So they want to maybe tap into your background knowledge. But Trevor Packer recently said in a webinar that no, it would just be a similar time frame in the past, and that's usually somewhere around 30 or 40 years. Also, it will be awkward doing this DBQ online. I don't know exactly how it's going to work with whatever platform they're going to use, but I imagine there's going to have to be a lot of scrolling around between the prompt and between documents if you're typing it to where you're typing it and everything. So I hope the College Board is taking that into consideration too. Although if they were taking that into consideration, I think they should have given you more than 45 minutes to do the whole thing in. Next, let's take a look at the recent prompts from the last 5 years. I think it's highly unlikely that this year's prompt will be anything similar to what we've had in the recent past. So just going back the last 5 years, last year's prompt was about the progressive movement fostering change. So that's late 1800s, early 1900s. 2 years ago, it was about imperialism, 1865 to 1910. 3 years ago, it was about the change of ideas about American independence. So that's kind of huge. That kind of takes off like the whole road to revolution era. Next was, which wouldn't have been on the prompt, wouldn't have been on this year's anyways, but women's rights movement, 1940, 1975. Most of that is in period 8, so that wouldn't have shown up this year anyways. And the next one wouldn't show up this year anyways too. It's the rise of conservatism. That was all period 8 and even some into period 9. Okay, some other topics I think they will stay away from. One is the Civil War. We had a recent LEQ on that. I can't remember if that was last year or 2 years ago, but it was basically about the cause of the Civil War. This one can also be controversial too, and there are just so many possible documents that could be a part of this one. Just everything from all the compromises and all the events and all the characters and everything. It's such a huge topic, and I think it's a little bit too obvious as well. So not the cause of the Civil War. Gilded Age. Now, it's a personal favorite of mine, that whole late 1800s era of American industrialization and, Carnegie and Rockefeller and the rise of unions and all sorts of things. It's one of my favorite topics, but I know a lot of people struggle with it. I know a lot of teachers, it's one of their least favorite topics to teach. And I think the College Board is going to hopefully are looking to make this year not too difficult because of all the things going on, how crazy things are with the whole coronavirus and everything. So I don't think the Gilded Age will be on there. The next two are really big topics. I know they're highlighted in the curriculum. I cover them a lot as well. The Second Great Awakening, Market Revolution. But for some reason, when we get towards the end of the year, and we're looking back and reviewing those two topics in particular, my students always seem to I see a lot of blank stares when I say, hey, remember the Second Great Awakening and the Market Revolution? What was that all about? So while, we cover them a lot, for me, that's usually in early November. They tend to be ones that just get lost in the back of our minds. So if the College Board was looking to make it not too difficult this year, not too obscure of a prompt, I don't think they would have the Gilded Age, Second Great Awakening, or Market Revolution. So that goes to what are my top 5. And the way I came about these top 5 is I thought about what topics have been underrepresented on tests recently in the last 4 or 5 years. And these are ones that I think about, when I see the test, when they release the test, both the multiple choice and the free response. And I'm always like, hey, where are these topics? Why aren't these more on there more? Now, I know some of these topics have been on previous tests, like in some areas like SAQs and multiple choice, but I haven't really seen these a lot, and they haven't been in a DBQ anytime recently. So the first one is the Articles of Confederation through the Federalist era, so basically 1781 to 1800, so basically the second half of period 3. The next one is Age of Jackson. This is a topic where, while they've had a lot of the Andrew Jackson the First, that's that famous political cartoon, Andrew Jackson dressed up like a monarch, he's tearing up the Constitution below him. And, and Jackson is a very popular figure, but they've had a lot of those for like SAQs and multiple choice, but no like LEQs. Although I think a few years ago they had a Whigs, comparing and contrasting like Whigs and Jacksonian Democrats. But that would be another one that I think the College Board might have as a DBQ this year. Next one, similar time frame, is Manifest Destiny. Now this is kind of iffy about like how far do you go back? Do you go back to like the Northwest Ordinance and way back in the 1780s? Do you go back to Louisiana Purchase? Do you go back to when John L. Sullivan, coined the term and told young men to go west? There's also a lot of possibilities for a lot of documents. There's several different really big events in there, different purchases, and the Mexican-American War. So, that's another possibility. Reconstruction. I always feel like Reconstruction is underrepresented on tests, this one in particular. There's been some multiple choice questions about it, but not a whole lot else. Now, the one thing that I think goes against Reconstruction is it's just kind of one region of the country, the South. And it's a really specific time period. You'd probably stretch it out. I mean, usually people say Reconstruction ends with the Compromise of 1877. You'd probably stretch it out to like 1900, so people could talk about like, how successful it was or lack of success for Reconstruction and some of its long-term effects. The next one is like my top underrepresented topic on a test, and that is the Great Depression and New Deal. Every year I'm like, where the heck are the questions on this topic? It's such a massive topic. It covers, basically from 1929 all the way up to the start of World War II. It's fairly recent, and it's one of the biggest events that just changed society in, all of U.S. history, but definitely in the last like 100 years. So, my top 2 were actually the first one, the Articles of Confederation and Great Depression, New Deal. So then I had a tough time thinking about, all right, between these 2, which one would I pick that is going to be this year? And I ended up with the first one. So my prediction is this. I think the original actor from the show Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think while everyone is sitting there at their computers waiting for the test to start, because you have a half an hour beforehand to log in, and everyone's sitting there waiting for there to start, I think there's going to be a countdown. And then Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to have a pre-recorded message for you guys. And he's going to say some words of encouragement. And then he's going to read the prompt, which, his character, Hamilton, would have a huge role as far as the prompt goes. So I think the prompt is going to be something like this. Evaluate the extent to which debates about the role of the federal government led to division within the United States. Confine your answer from 1781 to 1804. And then I think the documents, Federalist number 10, that's the famous one from James Madison. And then this image that I'll click on a little bit, the Bill of Rights, excerpts of the Alien Sedition Acts, that's from the John Adams administration, 1798, and then Jefferson's inaugural address. And just take a look at this image too. This image came from a couple of years ago. There was a multiple choice question set about it. And it's about like, it's 1788 and it's the federal edifice. And it's about basically the Constitution. And there could be some other ones too, like, you know, let's say a Hamilton report on manufacturer's primary source. Okay, so that's my prediction. Now, don't put all your eggs in one basket and just prepare for this, because this is just a total guess. It most likely will not be what my prediction is. It'd be crazy if it was, but don't plan on it being what I'm saying. This is just like a fun little mental exercise that I wanted to do. Okay, well, I'm still going to be making those review videos every day or every other day up until the AP test. So subscribe to the channel for those review videos, and see you later.